So you spoke to President Trump for more than an hour.
Yeah.
Tell us about that meeting. How did it go?
He was very gracious to accept the meeting in very short order. We extended an open hand. I've said this often, not a closed fist, and reestablished a partnership and relationship to this fire, to the emergency that's still at hand as it relates to toxic materials that need to be cleaned up, to debris removal, to people, thousands and thousands of families whose lives have been torn asunder. And so it was incredibly productive.
Did you get any commitments from him for aid?
Broad strokes, not specific commitments, but broad strokes. And I have just all the confidence in the world that it's going to be a strong partnership moving forward. And so we're trying to do everything we can to distill a sense of well-being. And it's critical that the relationship between the President of the United States and the state of California remain strong and firm in our resolve to fix this. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. The president was at a prayer breakfast this morning. I remember Father Cause telling me, we're many parts but one body. When one part suffers, we all suffer. This notion that we're all in this together.
As you know, that President Trump has pressed for California requiring voter ID and changing to the water system. Did that come up with your meeting with him?
We talked about both, yeah.
You talked about both? And did you say you would?
We've been in an ongoing conversation for over, I feel like I told the president when he was on the tarmac last week in Los Angeles, I said, we're picking up on the last conversation we had around water 4.5 years prior. So I will say this, he's very focused on that issue. He certainly targeted some of that in terms of some of the actions he took by executive order.
2 billion gallons of water.
And so we had and that's why it was an extended conversation. I didn't even know people knew how long the conversation was, but it was an extended conversation. And so it was spirited. And look, and it's exactly.
Spirited how so? Bring us into that.
Because we were just, it was an engaging conversation. You know what it was? It was a two-way conversation. And that's what it should be. I mean, just different points of view, expressing a different understanding of the nuances on the ground, but an appreciation to get something done.
Did you tell him the 2 billion gallons of water didn't help with the wildfire recovery?
I think it's been well covered.
Okay.
Understood. But, look, I kept going back. It wasn't about focusing on the disagreements. It was about focusing on what we have in common. What we have in common is a desire to support the people of L.A. and also recognize that in 2028, we've got the Olympics coming to Southern California. We have an opportunity. And I think it's that mindset that we brought to the meeting and the mindset that came out of that meeting. The president wants to do something that's never been done, and that is address this crisis with a degree of sophistication and focus to get the job done and get people's lives back.
Your relationship with Trump certainly has been interesting over the years. It seems to have taken a more positive turn lately. I mean, he recently called you Newsom. And
not just recently. He's been doing that for years.
Did he say it in the Oval Office yesterday?
Yeah, we had some fun with that. Look.
Okay. So tell us about this. How much of your positive turn, I have to ask this because this is what people are wondering, has to do with the fact you need aid for your state.
Yeah, but it's not even that. We had this relationship. I will say, it's one of the more, I'll leave it to more objective minds, but it's one of the more interesting relationships in politics because we had this relationship going back during COVID. I mean, we were involved in 100 lawsuits going back and forth. I mean, you could look at the tweets back then, calling me a clown, the worst governor. And yet we were still working together. And all that was a little bit of noise. So it just feels so familiar. And in that respect, I want to continue to respect the office of the presidency, to respect his authority, and to also engage in a constructive dialogue when it comes to issues of emergencies. But again, we had that foundation of a relationship for years during the COVID crisis, and it was a great partnership then, interestingly.
So it sounds like publicly you guys kind of trade barbs, and then privately you can joke about it, is what it sounds like.
And it's and it's a joke, and it's not. It's frustrating for people. We're sort of chasing headlines. We're chasing tweets. But at the end of the day, what matters to me is what matters. Control what you can control, and focus on people and results and getting things done. And that's I think was demonstrably the case yesterday in the meeting.
All right, I know we have to let you go. I just want to quickly end. You mentioned the tarmac meeting with President Trump. You said it was a continuation of a conversation you had had with him. He came there to California to tour the wildfire damage. Bring us into that. I know a lot of us were wondering what was happening in that moment.
Well, I just, again, back to open hand, not a closed fist, welcoming back to the state of California. And, I don't want, people start reading lips here.
That's why I want to go straight to the source.
We started talking about water. I mean, we were in, middle of a conversation that we ended at the end of his term.
You went right into water in that conversation.
He's very focused on water. And I appreciate that. I'm focused on water. It's one of the most, I'm in California. This is a top issue for us. And we also extended yesterday different discussions about other areas we can agree that he can move the needle in California water policy. So that's a little bit of preview. We hope some good things come from that.
All right, Governor Gavin Newsom, thank you so much.